For decades, people have tried to answer one question. Was Jeffrey Epstein really working alone? Now, leaked voice notes, emails, and old testimony are bringing those questions back in a huge way. And this time, some people believe the evidence points toward powerful names in Hollywood, including Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres is named in the Epstein documents, and that part is real. Her name appears in the broader index of over 300 high-profile individuals that show up across the investigative material. One of the biggest voices connected to the case was Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most well-known survivors. In emotional recordings and interviews, Virginia claimed Epstein had a whole network of people helping him behind the scenes. According to her, this wasn't just one rich man acting alone. She said there were people everywhere who knew what was happening and chose to stay silent. There's about everyone's in the case that have been made public. We talked to a lot of people around her who knew her contemporaneously during the Epstein and Maxwell abuse, etc. That's not the full summary of our fact-checking and our carefulness, but we knew and she knew all along that she was a target. If she raised her hand, she was going to get potentially slammed, and everything needed to be buttoned up, and we worked very hard to make that happen. The hair stood up on my neck when you said the tapes because I realized that's how you work. When you're working with someone as a co-writer or a ghostwriter, you tape to those long interviews and then you work with the material, which means there's tapes that have names. Will we ever hear those tapes? Will we ever hear those names? Is it a matter of waiting for certain people to die because you can't defame someone who's dead? I think the place to aim that question is towards the Department of Justice. Yes, I know who the names are. Virginia knows who the names are, but so does the FBI and so does the Department of Justice. That's why there's such a clamoring right now for the Epstein files to be released. Back in the early 2000s, Virginia claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her when she was still a teenager. She later accused Epstein and several powerful men of abuse, including Prince Andrew. Virginia said Epstein had homes, private planes, and connections spread across the United States, the UK, and the Virgin Islands. According to her, powerful people from politics, business, media, and entertainment were all connected to the same hidden world. Virginia said the operation could not have happened without help from many people around them. She mentioned drivers, staff members, assistants, doctors, and other workers who allegedly saw what was happening, but never stepped in. She believed many people ignored the warning signs even though the victims were right in front of them. Years later, Virginia started speaking out publicly. She pushed for more investigations and wanted the full Epstein files released. She also revealed that she'd been working on a book about the people she claimed to have seen on Epstein's island and private jet. Before the book could fully come out, she posted alarming messages online saying she felt unsafe. Virginia was in trouble. And Prince Andrew's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, is tonight in a Perth hospital. She is fighting for her life after a serious crash, which has left her with just days to live. She had been a passenger in a car hit by a school bus, a crash she alarmingly claimed left her so injured she only had 4 days left to live. It was a private post Virginia accidentally made public, but instead of sympathy, the general response was immediate skepticism and derision. Doubt Virginia's brother Danny Wilson says was unfair and unfounded. It was an alarming post to read that Virginia had been told that she had 4 days to live. So I spoke with the doctors and they told me she was in very serious shape and she had 0 kidney function. What the doctor had told her was like untreated in your condition with 0 kidney function. If you do not get treatment, you got about 4 days before your body poisons itself. Not long after, news broke that Virginia had died in Australia. Reports about her death immediately caused shock online because many people remembered her earlier warnings. Around the same time, parts of the book she had been writing reportedly disappeared, while other sections were later released publicly. Those released pages described frightening encounters with powerful men connected to Epstein's world. Virginia's co-writer later argued that survivors should not be the only ones searching for answers and called for authorities to release all remaining Epstein records. It's a harrowing read, and it'll make you feel uncomfortable, but these are the excerpts that stood out for me. from the memoir written by the late Virginia Giuffre, which has just been released. In it, she describes being by Jeffrey Epstein to quote a man who me more savagely than anyone had before. Now, it's worth noting that in the U.S. edition of the book, she described the man in legal filings only as, quote, a prime minister, and that he had repeatedly choked her until she lost consciousness, and, quote, took pleasure in seeing me fear for my life. Giuffre doesn't name the prime minister or many of the other men that she writes about in this book. Her co-author Amy Wallace says it shouldn't be up to the survivors of out there abuse. It should be the authorities, which is why she's calling for the so-called Epstein files to be released. Giuffre does name Epstein and Prince Andrew, of course, who she says she had encounters with in multiple locations. And she also reveals some of the alleged tactics that Prince Andrew used when it became apparent that her story was going to get out. For example, after casting doubt on my credibility for so long, Prince Andrew's team had even gone so far as to try to hire internet trolls to hassle me. Prince Andrew hasn't responded to this book, and he's repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. There is a mention of Donald Trump in this book, Giuffre saying she met him at his Mar-a-Lago resort where she was working as a locker room attendant. She was introduced to Trump by her father and says Trump couldn't have been friendlier, telling me it was fantastic that I was there. No allegations of a maid against Donald Trump. The case took another strange turn in 2024 when a voice note connected to the Epstein investigation started spreading online, where investigators asked Ghislaine Maxwell if she believed her co-conspirator had indeed died by suicide. To everyone's shock, she said, "No, I do not believe he died by suicide. And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who I know? I don't." Then, 1 year later, the FBI and Department of Justice announced that more Epstein files would finally be released in 2025. That announcement immediately caused panic and rumors across Hollywood and the entertainment world. According to leaked emails and reports tied to the case, Epstein allegedly used connections in modeling and entertainment to meet and recruit young women. Some documents even described him as being connected to modeling agencies and talent scouting. It was sordid and was calculated. Jeffrey Epstein's interest in fashion wasn't just in the business itself, but in leveraging the industry to gain access to young women who were hoping to grow their modeling careers. The modeling industry was like a foundation of Epstein's orbit. Lisa Phillips was introduced to Epstein at 21 while on a modeling shoot near his island and endured years of abuse that she said she didn't fully recognize until she was introduced to other survivors. You saw things that were kind of questionable, or you wondered why certain things happened to you or other models, but you didn't really know that it was part of like a whole system. In March, more than 40 survivors connected with Model Alliance, a nonprofit calling for investigations to look into the impact of Epstein's abuse in the industry. Phillips signed her name, knowing that these people that I worked with and all these agency owners were sending emails back and forth to Epstein. I worked with all the biggest agencies, for 10 years, and I just never knew that they were all in with him. I never knew that. How does it make you feel to find it out now? Well, I had a hard time dealing with it. Let's just put it that way. Until documents released by the Department of Justice show that Epstein's network helped obtain these visas for young women. They were usually from Eastern Europe as part of his scheme. Now, when I talked to Phillips about this, she told me it was legitimate business, but it was also a way to solidify a power dynamic. Many of those girls couldn't read English well enough to really understand their own contracts, and they were taken advantage of financially. And then, when they were brought over, they were invited to many of these parties with Epstein and other elderly older men who then, of course, took advantage of them in other ways. Then people online started paying attention to something else. Right after the news about the files broke, many noticed that Ellen DeGeneres suddenly left the United States and reportedly moved to England with Portia de Rossi. That timing sparked non-stop speculation online. Critics and internet commentators started asking why Ellen would leave the country just as more Epstein information was expected to come out. The rumors only grew louder because Ellen had already been facing years of backlash about what people claimed happened behind the scenes on her talk show. Her public image as the be kind celebrity had started falling apart after former employees accused the workplace of being toxic and intimidating. Work for Ellen as well. Yeah, I did the first 2 years on that show. And she was rough. She was the C word. Yeah. Was she just short with you? I mean, what was exactly if you didn't pitch in her wheelhouse, then she looked at you like you had just stabbed her puppy. And then there was this process of pushing people out of the circle. And you want to be in the circle because there's a lot of fear going on, and you're in or out. So there's a lot of, it didn't really bother me that much because I'd written on a lot of shows before, and I kind of knew what it was like to have tough bosses. Yeah, I wrote for Bill Maher. Sure. And so I was just tough enough, but then there was these first-time writers they used to cry. There was a lot of crying in the hallways. Then another tragedy added fuel to the conspiracy theories. Stephen Twitch Boss, Ellen's longtime DJ and executive producer, died in 2022. Soon after his death, internet rumors exploded with claims that he had discovered dark secrets involving powerful people in Hollywood. Online posts claimed he left behind notes or recordings exposing what he allegedly saw while working around major celebrities. Flown Bella explained the truth about Stephen Twitch Boss. She alleged that he was unalived because he was getting ready to expose a group of people high up in the entertainment industry doing horrible things. She explained that Twitch had videos, maybe a wire, and even documentation on this person and this group taking advantage of people. And she said that Twitch knew that this group was actually a cult. And after watching the 7M Call on Netflix and realizing that Twitch would always collaborate with the 7 Million Dancers, it made my heart sink when I re-listened to Sloan Bella's reading. She said that this group of people was men and women, but one man that was close to Twitch is the person that came to him, and he was actually a double agent. And if you remember in the 7M documentary, the people would say in this group that they would act like they were friends with people, but as soon as they found out they did something, they would actually go back and report it so that person would get in trouble. And basically, any lies or any secret information would always get back to the leader of the church. And Sloan Bella said that the person that was the double agent was really close to Twitch and his family. And we know that the 7 Million Dancers not only collaborated with Twitch on multiple occasions, but his wife Allison was also usually around during these collaborations. And they said that this group of people not only threatened Twitch, they threatened his family and his children. And we know after watching the 7M documentary, they were talking a lot about SA allegations from that church and the 7M management. And when Sloan Bella first released this information, a lot of people were thinking that it was something to do with Diddy, but it's sounding a lot to me like it's something about the 7M cult. She explained how it was a cult. She explained how it was 5 people in total that were men and women, but the person that got close to Twitch that was a double agent was a man. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Diddy and the 7M cult could allegedly be connected to one another because we know a lot of things in Hollywood are connected like this. And remember, the leader of this church was getting people into acting positions and everything else, so he has to have some type of connections in the industry. So I'm going to go ahead and roll you guys this clip of everything that Sloan Bella had to say about Twitch's death, and you guys let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Stephen Twitch T. Witch Boss. They tried to shut him up. They literally tried to shut him up. He's have stuck in his mouth, and I'm not talking about a gun. I'm talking about like socks or stuffing or some kind of clothing put into his mouth to shut him the up. The reason he went to the motel on the day that he passed or the day before he passed is because he was told that he would be doing this business deal and it would just be a matter of signing papers, not a problem. Stephen was basically asked by a group of people to gather information against somebody in a high position within the entertainment industry. Many people have speculated that this person may have indeed been none other than Ellen. No verified evidence has ever confirmed those rumors. Still, people online continued connecting his death to the growing speculation around Ellen and Hollywood elites. Those rumors are particularly disgusting because this has seemingly been pretty commonplace in Hollywood. Peter Nygard, for example, who later faced major criminal allegations and convictions, was seen making controversial comments about stem cells, genetics, and youth treatments. The clips shocked many viewers because they sounded eerily similar to conspiracy theories people had discussed for years. The high-end patients there, who can afford it, Sure. Yeah. Well, Peter Nygaard, that's a huge dream and mission. I think that there is controversy, and for good reason, regarding protocols for stem cells. Maybe some groups or doctors or laboratories aren't quite up to speed to the best steps and procedures to gain or derive stem cells in a safe, healthy manner, to store them, to expand them, whether it's safe or not to expand them. So, there's some questions, of course. So, it's really good that you're going to a country where you can establish some laws and some protocols and some criteria. So, you're clearly attracting some of the great experts in the world. I know you've talked to some of the people that I know, and these people are some of the greats in the world. But putting that collective knowledge is what you're doing. It's like assembling a anti-aging super team, isn't it? The anti-aging super team is right. And you can do all this now in countries like Mexico and a lot of these countries. There's a guy named Peter Nygaard. You know who this is? He's a Canadian billionaire who's, I believe, in prison right now for all types of, drinking type charges and so forth. So I did an interview with Chris Hansen, who did a lot of research about him and so forth. And essentially, by the time Peter Nygaard got locked up, and he's, in his 80s, I believe, at that point, what he was doing was he was using stem cells to keep himself younger. And what he would do is he would have girlfriends who he would impregnate and then have abortions. Then he would take the abortion matter, and since stem cells from your DNA are much more, compatible than stem cells from other people, he would then take these stem cells from these abortions and somehow inject them and made himself more vibrant. And they said that when he got locked up, after 6 months, he started to fall apart. Do you know about this? No. Okay. Does this sound plausible? Well, of the many ways we are attempting to prolong life, one of them has deep into stem cell research. From what I'm not an expert here in this space, but what I remember is the whole conversation about aborted fetuses changed because we were able to produce stem cells from your own cells. Somebody developed a method to do that. So, that whole conversation, but what do you do with abortions went away. I don't think you've seen it in the news recently. I haven't, for sure. So I think there was some advances that enabled this from your own cells. Whatever is the pathway to prolonging life, I think that will happen before we sever your brain from your brainstem and keep it alive. You have to be careful, though, if you want to live forever. For me, knowing I'm going to die gives meaning to what it is to be alive. Then investigators reportedly uncovered more documents showing Epstein had an interest in genetic research and longevity studies. Reports claimed he funded research connected to gene sequencing and stem cell technology through scientists and medical projects linked to major institutions. As all of this spread online, internet users began picking apart every detail connected to Ellen. Some even claimed parts of the set from The Ellen Show look similar to structures seen on Epstein's island. A Joe Rogan segment comparing the designs went viral and added even more attention to the theories. Look at it. Oh, well, you know where that is too, right? It's similar image to that, right? No. I know Jamie does. What is it? It's on the set of a famous talk show that's now not on anymore. Oh, Ellen? Was that Ellen? Yeah. Really? Just look at the temple, and then look at let me see Ellen's background. What? Oh, similar. That looks like a building, though. I'm sure. Yeah. Is that a building in LA? That might be a building in LA. And the Epstein stuff coming out now is, we'll see what happens with that. Well, you guys were talking right before the podcast. Jamie said there was a big dump. What happened with the big dump? Big dump? You said it was a big dump today and they up. That was your take. They up. The up was the people have found out that the redactions weren't really redacted. Done. It's that's a big mistake. You can copy and paste and put it in another document and see the redactions. Oh, like a Photoshop deal, you could get the layers away? Yeah. Oh, whoopsies. That's what happens. You get people working for the government that are dorks. Then which is it's steps to this. wasn't following it all, but the Department of Justice has tweeted a couple interesting things today, starting with this one 8 hours ago. So it's like 6 a.m. As more files, interviews, and alleged leaks continue surfacing, the Epstein case remains one of the most disturbing and controversial scandals tied to powerful elites in modern history. While many online theories surrounding Hollywood figures like Ellen DeGeneres remain completely unproven, with many believing that until every document is released and every allegation properly investigated, the full truth behind Jeffrey Epstein's network may never truly be known.